This podcast is brought to you by eBiz Radio, the place to go if you want to know about the world of business and the business of the world. For daily podcast and article uploads, go to eBizRadio.com or follow us on Twitter at eBizRadioGlobal. My name is Nick Snow, and joining me for an edition of eBiz Insights is Sibongile Boy of Second Office. Of course, Sibongile, the founder of Second Office. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation because I think this has to do with probably one of the most underappreciated parts of the business world, and that is the very environment that we sit in. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey throughout your business career before we get into Second Office.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. Thanks for this interview. Just to give you a bit of background, Nick, I was in the management consulting field for a good 12 years with a management consulting company. And I grew within that from being an analyst right up to middle to senior management, and the entrepreneurship bug bit. And around 2011, I actually opened a place called Second Office after having set up and returned to East London. And do you want me to go further deep into that?
Absolutely. Go
okay.
Tell us about your journey.
The journey overall. So here I am. I landed in East London in 2009. And between 2009 and 2011, I took a bit of a sabbatical after having been on a very fast train as a management consultant. And it was actually where I was getting to do all the things that I'd wanted. I was getting to do all the things that I've always wanted to do, but never got the time to do. And I think it was around 2011 that I said, well, now I need to start to think about what to do next with my life. I had been absorbing East London and having been away from South Africa for many years, just getting back into the swing of things, seeing how I could be a part of it, how I could add value to my town of East London. So I think it was one day while waiting for a meal with my mother at a Magandin here in East London. We're actually on a line, and I looked around and said, well, what's taking up all these tables? Only to find out that people were there sitting and working. And I'm thinking, okay, I think people need a place to work from. This is not really a working environment.
Yes.
So I think the whole idea of a serviced office on demand or a place for people to work from that whole idea came at that point. I think that was a aha moment. And then I looked around East London and said, there has to be something where people can work from. And then I realized that actually it wasn't. People in East London, I think, just business-wise, are more laid back. There's very traditional ways of doing business. And so having used serviced offices when I was a management consultant in North America, I felt this was something that East London could benefit from. And so what we did, that was in 2011, around July, August, decided to set up a small 3-office, 1 conference room setup. And in there, it was really to see, was East London ready for something like this? And it was within 2 years that we actually saw that, okay, there was demand. And we started having periods where all the 3 offices would be set up, would be actually used, and there wouldn't be space for some of for people who had prepaid for their hours, for them to make use of it. So it was at that point that we realized that, well, maybe it's time to grow. And we've since grown to where we are right now, where we have a much bigger setup of 700 square meters in an A-grade building where we have the current offices for Second Office.
That's brilliant. So what you've essentially done is you've made a space where people can go and be productive, that has all the amenities that an office would have, but just not where they may be. So you're enabling people to do work on the go, so that there's no stoppage time, there's no waste in productivity, which I think is brilliant. And of course, everyone then being in that space knows that this is a productive space. This is where we are coming to work. It's not like you're trying to find a spot at a coffee shop with a plug in the corner to try and do some emails quickly while people are buzzing around you. It's purely for business, which I think is wonderful.
Definitely, Nick. I think you've said it all. It's around productivity. It's around flexibility, because, you look at it and say, if you're a small business, for example, and you want to start up, how do you actually do things cost effectively? So it's about getting space when you need it. And so that allows you to not only to have that professional image, but to be able to have space when you need it. And for a bigger company that's Joburg-based, it allows them to be able to say, you know what, we don't know what the market conditions are in this Eastern Cape or in this East London, and to use us for that period of saying, okay, how can we enter the market in a risk-free manner? We don't have to get into these long-term agreements. Second Office provides a flexible way to enter a relatively unknown market for some. So that's what we are. We're this flexible, professional, and a place that promotes productivity.
And of course, something essential that is needed for entrepreneurs. This type of space is ideally meant for entrepreneurs. You, of course, being entrepreneur, I've got some wonderful documentation in front of me, and you have 4 entrepreneurial success tips, of course, that you have here. And the first one is that it's vital for startup businesses to minimize expenses and gather sufficient resources to get started. Now, you, of course, started your business by investing your savings and pension fund. Now, did you invest that in your business itself, or did you invest that in yourself, for yourself?
Well, it was a combination of things, Nick. When I started, if you can imagine, I had been away from the South African scene, so I didn't have much of a credit rating. So when banks looked at me, I was a major risk. And for East London, this particular model had not been tried. And so, it was like, how do you know you'll succeed? And I think after going through a back and forth, I realized that if I wasn't going to invest on the business, no one else was going to do that. But also, in terms of investing on self, on me as Sibongile, was very important, because as a management consultant, there's a lot of skills you gather. However, sometimes, as they say, jack of all trade and master of none. There were some skills that I needed to be able to build on, to be able to fill in the gaps of where I felt the weaknesses were. So I spent a lot of time investing on myself to make sure that I guess I propped myself up and continue to learn. And I felt, again, if I wasn't going to invest on myself, no one else was going to. So I was. It was really that was the approach to invest both on business and self.
Brilliant. Now, number 2 here, the next tip, of course, is relationships with clients and the business community are an important aspect of business success. The challenges entrepreneurs face are very similar, and a strong network will allow you to share these challenges and learn from others' experiences. How important is it, essentially, to network? That's what you're talking about here, isn't it?
Yes. For me, Nick, the whole network scenario was very important. As you realize, there I am. I'm starting a business really on a shoestring budget. As much as I was using my savings, I realized that there was going to be a point at which things were going to be tight. So I had to watch resources very closely. So I didn't have a significant marketing budget. And once the business was set up, I then had to say, how do we market this thing? Now, I looked at marketing, I guess ways to market that were available to Second Office. And it was quite costly, I must say. And so it was like, okay, how do we get the word out there that we're now in town? And I really resorted to networking. I immersed myself within the various organizations that were in East London at the time. Do you want me to list some of them?
Absolutely, please.
Yes. The one that I started out with at first was the Boracay Chamber of Business. And it's obviously an organization. It's a chamber that covers between East London to Queenstown. And through this organization, I was able to get a network, other potential clients and leads, really, of organizations that could potentially make use of our services. And then there was the Black Management Forum, where we developed managers as well as leaders. And that was another area where I found budding entrepreneurs who wanted that professional image and wanted to be taken seriously. And then there was the Business Women's Association. The Business Women's Association opened a world to me. It's these women that are highly supportive of each other, women through which not only did I get support overall, but also I got mentors to be able to grow and to develop as a businesswoman within East London. Toastmasters presented an amazing opportunity for me. And people would say, oh, well, yes, Toastmasters is all about public speaking, but it's more about these platforms where you're meeting people and where you can get to find out what people do, but most of all for people to find out what you do. So, it was all about finding opportunities to exchange. I network through, I'm now a Rotarian, through the Rotary clubs, and meeting people within all these environments who are really willing to take you under their wing and to advise you and to share their wisdom. So I would say, as second office, we've benefited significantly from the generosity of people who have wanted to share ideas, people who have wanted to lend a hand, and just looking at me sometimes and saying, she's working so hard, how can I assist you, kind of thing. And so we've definitely benefited from our network. And yes, sometimes the network has its limitations because it tends to be more on the local scene. And if you're providing a service like second office that also needs to be known outside the parameters of, East London, then you then need to put other things in place,
yes,
like making sure that you have a significant web presence and all those things. But what I do find is that even within your East London, people do travel around, and hopefully they will say, this is what we do. For instance, I'll give you an example. This week we have a company that's Joburg-based that's doing their training within our premises, and they got to know about us through contact at BWA. So it's things like those that your people get to know about what you do really through your network. And within the Eastern Cape environment, word of mouth is key, and now it talks to the other element as well of actually presenting value to your clients, because if you present value, then they're most likely to recommend you to the next person and extend or get the business known through people talking about it in a positive way.
Absolutely. And then, of course, moving again along to talking positively is taking time to understand your client's needs and wants, which is your third tip. They're going to give you the feedback you need to be able to provide them with a real solution. And of course, your fourth tip then, leading from that, is learning how to delegate or getting the help required so you can focus on the strategic direction of the business. And I think those two go so wonderfully hand in hand, because not only in providing a real solution, you are taking it in the right direction because you're providing what people need.
Definitely. And, that can't be underestimated. because I think sometimes we have a vision in our head as to what it is that we want to do and what we want to achieve. And if that vision it doesn't bring the client along, then you're marching along solo, or you're marching and not necessarily considering your client, with whom you really cannot exist. So things like your customer service become key, and it is that journey with your client that will help you grow, because they're going to give you feedback. And if you don't take that feedback seriously, then there's no way you're going to grow. It is them that you need to be constantly thinking, okay, how do I add value to their experience within your environment? And what I do like about our clients is that they're very vocal, and they will give us feedback, and that actually puts us in a fortunate position that there's nothing that really comes by surprise. As I said, the fourth, entrepreneurial tip, being around adding value to your clients. For us, that is very important, because if we don't add value to our clients, then they don't have a reason to be with us. And it is important for us also to be able to take that feedback from our clients very, very seriously, and to understand where they are in the progression. Are we still adding value? Are we still making a difference in their business? Does them being here make a difference? And to see how we can be the people who help them grow within the Eastern Cape. So, for instance, I'll summarize on the conversation we sometimes have with our clients around, is there anything we can do to improve the experience at Second Office, or has your size as a business within the Eastern Cape or within East London reached a point whereby maybe you need to go find a bigger space to grow your team? Because as much as Second Office is a place where we do have clients operating from here permanently, there's a critical point where it actually makes sense for you to now grow and to find another space. So if our clients realize that it's not always about us, it's also more about them, then they are more likely to, one, recommend us to other people that they think would benefit from our services. But it's also important for them to realize that we have their interest at heart. So for us, that is key, to constantly be on the outlook as to how we can improve our client experience, either at Second Office or within the Eastern Cape, because I'm a proponent of people conducting business within the Eastern Cape. I think there's great opportunity here, and we offer that risk-free environment for them to do that, because they can come in and find out whether this is the right place for them to be or not, without getting into significant costs.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I really do admire what you do. Of course, it's all about helping the entrepreneur at the end of the day, and encouraging the right type of people to work here and get the type of jobs we need here in South Africa. Yes. So finally, Sibongile, if people want to get in contact with you, with Second Office, to find out how they can utilize your services and take themselves to the next level, how do they do that?
We are at www.secondoffice.co.za, and the Second Office is fully spelled as SECONDOFFICE.co.za. That's our website, and in there you can really get a feel about, in terms of the services that we provide, from your office space to meeting rooms for larger groups to administrative support services. And we are also on the phone, 043-704-6400, on mobile, 082-702-8009, as well as Facebook and Twitter. So at this point in time, we're not tweeting as much as we'd like to. So social media program is not where it should be, but if you go on our website, we'll definitely keep you updated on what it is that we're doing.
Absolutely brilliant. Bongile, that is wonderful. Thank you for joining me here. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Nick,
And thank you for chatting to me.
Nick.
Yes,
I
yes.
totally forgot one brief thing. Our
Yes,
address.
please.
Our
What is it?
address. It is 6 Donald Road in Vincent in East London. That's
Fantastic.
our current location right now.
Great. So if people want to
Thank
have
you,
an
Nick.
actual look, then they can, of course, go along to that address and see what you're all about. And
Thank
on
you,
that
Nick.
note, it brings us to the end of this edition of eBiz Insights. Spongile, once again, thank you so much for joining me here on eBiz Radio.
Highly appreciated. Bye.